As a new student at Santa Monica College, you are required to take the Mathematics and English or ESL placement tests. These tests are designed to provide information about your skills in quantitative reasoning, reading, and writing. The test results will be used along with other information to place you in courses appropriate to your level of preparation. It is important that you take these tests seriously and that you perform to the best of your ability. The purpose of this module is to familiarize you with the placement tests. Together, we will review basic information such as testing policies, the content and type of questions you will be asked on each test, common mistakes students make when taking the test, and how to avoid them. We will also discuss specific cases when assessment may not be required. Before we start, there are a few things you should know. On the right side of each screen, you will see the name of the section you are currently reviewing. On the top of the page, you will see the menu bar. The first time you review this module, we suggest that you allow it to play in the order presented. If you need to replay a section or need information on just one section, click on the corresponding button. You probably have questions such as, why do I have to take the placement tests? Why should I prepare for the tests? How do the tests work? And how will the test help me determine what courses I need to take? We will provide you with answers to these and other questions in this section. Once we conclude, we will then move on to discuss the English and ESL and the math tests in detail. Now let's go on. Santa Monica College has in place a mandatory assessment policy for new college students. This practice has been instituted to help us determine your readiness for college-level coursework, and particularly for courses that require strong reading, writing, and math skills. Given the variety and intensity of our students' academic experiences from elementary school through high school, comprehensive assessment is the best way for us to identify areas of strength and weakness, so we may in turn provide you with academic support. Preparing for your placement tests is a crucial step to your academic success. Your placement results will not only determine where along the math and English course sequence you will start, but also the total number of these courses you will need to take before reaching the level needed to fulfill degree, major, or transfer requirements. While nearly 30% of SMC students place directly into college-level courses, 7 in 10 students will start with developmental or remedial courses. To give you an example, a student who places into the lowest English level, English 81A, he or she will need to take a minimum of 5 writing courses and 3 reading courses to complete the requirements for an associate degree, which is English 1. This student will also need to take 1 additional class to transfer to a 4-year college or university. Similarly, if placing into the lowest level of math, Math 81, the same student will need to take 4 math classes to complete AA degree requirements and 5 to 8 math classes for transfer. In contrast, students who place directly into college-level classes, they will only need to take 1 to 2 composition classes and 1 to 3 math classes. Of course, the number of math classes you take will depend on your major. Clearly, it is to your advantage to spend as much time as you can preparing for the placement tests. Where you place may depend on how well prepared you are and how seriously you take these tests. You may be asking yourself if preparing will make that much of a difference in your placement level. A recent study conducted by the Santa Monica College Assessment Center showed that students who prepared for the exams by familiarizing themselves with the content of the tests and by reviewing the test preparation materials available on our website were 18% more likely to place into college-level English and 36% more likely to place into college-level math, in comparison to those students who did not prepare. The bottom line is this: preparing can make a big difference for you. It will save you time, energy, frustration, and not to mention lots of money. As a California community college, SMC is required to use multiple measures to determine your placement level. This means that your test scores, in combination with several other variables, will be used. However, your test scores are given the greatest weight to determine your eligibility for English, ESL, and math courses, so do your best. SMC uses a College Board's AccuPlacer test to assess your reading and writing skills. We also use ACT's Compass test to assess your math skills. Both AccuPlacer and Compass are computerized adaptive tests. This means that test questions are chosen for you on the basis of your answers to previous questions. This technique selects just the right questions for your ability level. Because the test works this way, you must answer every question when it is first presented. As seen in this illustration, you will initially be presented with a question of intermediate difficulty. If you answer correctly, you will then be given a question of greater difficulty, which assesses more advanced skills. If you answer incorrectly, the test will automatically select a less difficult question, which assesses more basic concepts. If you stop answering questions correctly, the test will only present you with easier questions, which in turn will not give you enough points to place you into higher level courses. You should keep in mind that each test is untimed, so you can give each question as much thought as you wish. You can change your answer to a particular question only before moving on to the next question. You cannot leave a question unanswered and cannot come back to it later to change your answer. If you do not know the answer to a question, try to eliminate one or two of the choices, then pick from the remaining choices. Once you take your placement test, you will immediately receive your test results. You will find out exactly where along the course sequence you placed and for which courses you are eligible. In the case of English, students will place into one of three placement levels. Group A comprises English 1, a college-level reading and composition course required for an associate degree and to transfer to a university. Group B consists of English 21A and 23. These are intermediate-level developmental courses that do not meet degree or transfer requirements. Lastly, Group C consists of English 81A and 83A. Both courses will introduce students to basic reading and writing skills. Like Group B, these courses will not bear any college credit. As noted in this chart, if you place into Group B or C, you will most likely need to take all courses noted in the order presented until you reach English 1. Placement in math ranges from basic arithmetic to first semester calculus. Just like with English, students will place into three basic groupings. The first group will consist of pre-college courses that will not give you credit for either the associate degree or transfer. Depending on your performance on the math test, you will place into Math 81 Arithmetic, Math 84 Pre-Algebra, or Math 31 Elementary Algebra. Approximately 60% of new students place in pre-college level math. The next group consists of associate degree level math courses. You will have the option of taking Math 32 Geometry or Math 18 and 20 Intermediate Algebra. If you place at this level, you will have the option of enrolling in any of these courses, which meet SMC's graduation requirement but do not transfer. 10% of new students place at this level. The next group of courses will consist of college-level math. These courses will meet AA degree and transfer requirements. However, your performance on the placement test will determine your eligibility for specific courses. For example, placing into Math 21, 26, 41, or 54 will not make you eligible for Math 28, Business Calculus, or Math 2, Pre-Calculus, nor for Math 7, Calculus. When you read the course description for the class found in the schedule of classes, you will know that every math class has a prerequisite. The only way to get into it is either by placing directly into the class or by completing the prerequisite course. SMC will not advance students to higher level classes at students' request. We realize that in middle school and high school, you may have taken classes similar to those that we just discussed. It is not unusual that students who took calculus in high school may place into a lower level math class at SMC. Sometimes this discrepancy results from a significant lapse of time going by without students taking a math class. Some other times it is because students did not freshen up their skills before taking the placement test. Also, the depth and intensity of high school courses may also be different from college level courses. Lastly, when deciding which math class to take, you should keep in mind that your selected major and the university you wish to transfer to will impact the level of math you need. Given how transfer and major requirements differ from one university to another, we strongly suggest that you consult with a counselor before deciding which math class to take. If you are unhappy with your placement, ask yourself how prepared you were for the test, if you took the test seriously, or if there were any unusual circumstances while testing. You should also discuss your test results with a counselor to determine if you should retest. Keep in mind that students may retest only once after a 2-week waiting period. You should use the waiting period to spend some time reviewing the assessment center's test preparation materials, the information found in the English and ESL math sections of this tutorial, or hire a tutor to help you out. You should also be aware that once you enroll in the relevant course sequence, you will not be able to retest. So make the most of your first testing experience. In this third section, we will spend some time going over the content of the English and the English as a second language tests. We will discuss the content of each test as well as the type and number of questions you will get. We will also discuss some strategies on how to approach each type of question and some review materials we have available on the Santa Monica College Assessment Center's website that will help prepare you for the tests. The AccuPlacer English Placement Test is recommended for students who are native English speakers and for students whose education has been primarily in English, or for students who have command of the English language in all its forms, including reading, writing, and grammar. The AccuPlacer ESL test, on the other hand, is recommended for English learner students coming from other countries who did not complete high school in the United States or otherwise tend to primarily speak their native language at home, at work, or with friends. Most international students coming to SMC are expected to take the ESL test. The AccuPlacer English test will consist of 2 sections: reading comprehension and sentence skills. Each test will present you with 20 different questions. The reading test will consist of 2 types of questions. The first type will consist of a reading passage followed by a question based on the text. Both short and long passages are provided. The reading passages can also be classified according to the kind of information processing required, including explicit statements related to the main idea, explicit statements related to the secondary idea, application, and inference. The second type of question is sentence relationships. These questions present 2 sentences followed by a question about the relationship between these 2 sentences. The question may ask, for example, if the statement in the second sentence supports that in the first, if it contradicts it, or if it repeats the same information. The sentence skills test also presents you with 2 types of questions. The first type is sentence correction. These require your understanding of sentence structure. The questions ask you to choose the most appropriate word or phrase to substitute for the underlined portion of the sentence. The second type is construction shift questions. These questions ask that a sentence be rewritten according to the criteria shown while maintaining essentially the same meaning as the original sentence. These questions may also deal with the logic of the sentence or whether or not the answer is a complete sentence, and still others with the relationship between coordination and subordination. We realize you may be confused about what is expected of you for each test. Perhaps some examples may help illustrate these question types. We also encourage you to review sample tests available at the Assessment Center's website so you can prepare for your test. The next few screens will show you sample questions reflective of the AccuPlacer English test. Be sure to read the instructions provided. After reading each question, carefully consider all answer choices. Once you are ready to answer, click on the corresponding button A through D to select the response. You will then receive instant feedback on the response choice. To hide the response, click on the Answer Choice button once again. To go on to the next question, click the next button at the bottom of the screen. Now that you've reviewed and worked on some sample questions, you should better understand how the AccuPlacer test works. Remember that the key to achieving a higher placement level will be to prepare as best you can. Here are some key things to remember. Review the sample tests available on the SMC Assessment Center website. Spend as much time as you need to prepare for each test. Remember that saying, practice makes perfect. When you're ready to take the test, come prepared, rested, and mentally ready. Learn and master how to answer different types of questions, especially when you do not know the answer. Take the test seriously. After all, it will determine if you will start in college level or remedial English. Read the directions for each test carefully. Read each question and answer carefully. Consider all answer choices. Don't know the answer? Strategize and eliminate wrong answers first, then select from the remaining choices. The AccuPlacer ESL test assesses your English skills if you have learned English as an additional language to your native or first language. The test consists of 3 sections: reading skills, sentence meaning, and language usage. Each one will consist of 20 questions. The reading skills test evaluates your comprehension of short passages of 50 to 90 words. The reading passages will be about a variety of different topics. You may read about the arts, science, or history. Half of the test questions ask you about information that is stated in the passage. The other half will ask you to identify the main ideas or fact versus opinion or the author's point of view, for example. The sentence meaning test assesses your understanding of vocabulary. You will be asked to fill in a blank with a word or phrase or combine two sentences. The skills covered are writing skills, including the proper use of nouns and verbs, modifiers and comparatives, prepositions, etc. The ESL language usage test measures your use and understanding of grammar. The sentences come from a variety of different subject areas. The test will have two types of questions: completing a sentence by filling in a blank with a word or phrase from the choices given, and choosing a sentence that best combines the two given sentences. Questions may make reference to subject-verb agreements, verb tenses, nouns, and pronouns, among others. Now that you've reviewed and worked on some sample questions, you should better understand how the AccuPlacer test works. Remember that the key to achieving a higher placement level will be to prepare as best you can. Here are some key things to remember. Review the sample tests available on the SMC Assessment Center website. Spend as much time as you need to prepare for each test. Remember that saying, practice makes perfect. When you're ready to take the test, come prepared, rested, and mentally ready. Learn and master how to answer different types of questions, especially when you do not know the answer. Take the test seriously. After all, it will determine if you will start in college level or remedial English. Read the directions for each test carefully. Read each question and answer carefully. Consider all answer choices. Don't know the answer? Strategize and eliminate wrong answers first, then select from the remaining choices. We realize you may be confused about what is expected of you for each test. Perhaps some examples may illustrate these question types. We also encourage you to review the sample tests available at the Assessment Center's website so that you can prepare for the test. The next few screens will show you sample questions reflective of the AccuPlacer ESL test. Be sure to read the instructions provided. After reading each question, carefully consider all answer choices. Once you are ready to answer, click on the corresponding button A through D to select the response. You will then receive instant feedback on the response choice. To hide the response, click on the answer choice button once again. To go to the next question, click on the next button at the bottom of the screen. In this section, we will review the content of the Compass Math Assessment and the type and number of questions you will be asked. Given its importance and the disproportionate number of students that place into remedial math, we will discuss specific strategies on how to best prepare for this test, including the use of freely available math diagnostic tools, as well as review materials available on the SMC Assessment Center website that will help you prepare for the tests. The Compass Math Assessment is composed of 5 individual tests. These are pre-algebra numeric skills, algebra, college algebra, geometry, and trigonometry. The vast majority of students will only take 1 or 2 of these tests in order to place into a math course at SMC. Unlike the English and the ESL placement test where all students take all individual tests, the Compass Assessment is designed to administer to you only the tests for which you demonstrate competency at the time when you are taking the math assessment. Each test will consist of 12 to 15 adaptive questions. All students will initially start off with the algebra test. Depending on your performance in algebra, one of 3 things will happen. First, the test will stop because you have answered a sufficient number of questions correctly to place you into a math course, but given your demonstrated skills, you are not likely to answer correctly those questions found in the more advanced tests. Second, if you did not answer a sufficient number of questions correctly on the algebra test, you will automatically be sent to the pre-algebra test, which will consist of more basic math questions. Thus, your placement will be determined with the pre-algebra test. In the third outcome, you will be taken to a more advanced test starting with college algebra, but only if you answered a significant number of algebra questions correctly. This pattern will repeat if you successfully complete the college algebra test, thus sending you to the geometry test and then to the trigonometry test, but only if you successfully completed the geometry test. In other words, the more questions you answer correctly, the greater the likelihood that you will be taken to the subsequent test. To give you an example, if you would like to take Math 7 Calculus, you will need to successfully complete 4 tests: algebra, college algebra, geometry, and trigonometry. Now that you know how the math test works, let's discuss the kind of skills you will be assessed on each test. The pre-algebra test will ask you questions related to operations with integers, fractions, and decimals, positive integer exponents, square roots, and scientific notation, ratios and proportions, percentages, and averages such as means, medians, and modes. The algebra test will cover skills such as substituting values into algebraic expressions, setting up equations for given situations, given operations with polynomials, factoring polynomials, linear equations in one variable, exponents and radicals, rational expressions, and linear equations in 2 variables. The college algebra test will consist of more advanced algebra questions that will focus on functions, exponents, complex numbers, arithmetic and geometric sequences and series, and operations with matrices, including basic operations, equations, and determinants. The geometry test will cover such topics as triangles, including perimeter, area, Pythagorean theorem, etc. Circles, such as, again, perimeter, area, arcs, etc. Angles, supplementary, complementary, adjacent, vertical. Rectangles, perimeter, area, etc., 3-dimensional concepts, and hybrid composite shapes. Lastly, the trigonometry test will focus on questions related to trigonometric functions and identities, right triangle trigonometry, trigonometric equations and inequalities, graphs and trigonometric functions, and special angles, such as multiples of 30 and 45-degree angles. Given the range and complexity of skills assessed by the Compass Math Assessment, extensive preparation and review will be the key to your placement into courses that will count toward the AA degree or transfer. If you recently completed an advanced mathematics class such as calculus or pre-calculus, It is possible that with a little review, you may still place at this level here at SMC. If you took this course over a year ago, or if you only took the minimum level of math needed for high school graduation, it may be difficult to place into a college-level class without extensive preparation. Since your placement is largely dependent on you and your previous academic experience, do yourself a favor, prepare for the math assessment. To get you started, let us introduce you to a few resources. These include taking advantage of a free math diagnostic assessment called ALEX, reviewing sample math tests on the SMC Center's website, and reviewing some video tutorials on various topics of pre-algebra and elementary algebra. The next 3 screens will show you how to access these free resources. ALEX is an artificial intelligence assessment and learning system. It uses adaptive questioning to quickly and accurately determine exactly what you know. This service is commercially available, however you may take one diagnostic test free of charge. The caveat is that you must complete this task over the course of 2 consecutive days from the time that you sign up, and you cannot spend more than 3 hours on the service total. Don't worry, this is enough time for you to complete the free diagnostic test. To take advantage of this service, simply follow the step-by-step instructions by clicking on the ALEX icon above. This will launch a web browser and take you to the SMC Assessment Center website. For now, let me tell you why you should take the ALEX Math Diagnostic Assessment. Completing ALEX will allow you to identify specific math skills you have mastered, as well as identifying those skills on which you need to brush up or need to learn. Completing ALEX will give you a better idea of how to prepare for the Compass Math Assessment, that is, what you need to study. Using the report provided by ALEX, you can then search for free online tutorials on the topics you have yet to master. For example, your ALEX report may state that you need to learn how to solve linear equations and inequalities. If your ALEX trial is still valid, learn the skill on the ALEX website. Otherwise, search for a tutorial on websites such as math.com or purplemath.com. If you are more of a visual learner, you can also search for video tutorials by algebra topic on the SMC Assessment Center's website, on YouTube, or at the Khan Academy's website, which contain a large selection of video tutorials on a wide range of arithmetic, algebra, geometry, trigonometry, and statistics topics. Their website is www.khanacademy.org. While ALEX is not an end-all, it may be the right resource to get you started, and best of all, it is free. If you like how ALEX works, you may also consider subscribing to the service once your free trial expires. The SMC Assessment Preparation Resources website is another great resource to help you prepare. Here, you will find a variety of sample tests you can take, as well as review materials from our math faculty. You will also find a chart that describes for you which of the sample tests you should take if you are trying to place into a specific math class at SMC. You will also find some suggestions on how to take math tests. Lastly, on the same Math Assessment Preparation Resources website, you will find links to a variety of video tutorials on topics related to the pre-algebra and algebra compass math tests. This list is by no means exhaustive. However, it is a good place to get started and see if video tutorials are the way to go. As we noted previously, we also recommend that you visit the Khan Academy's website to search through their extensive library of video tutorials and review those that will help you freshen up on your algebra skills. We hope that you take advantage of the resources just described. After all your hard work getting to college, you owe it to yourself to take the extra step and prepare for your placement tests. Too many students simply walk into the assessment center without adequately preparing. As a result, they most often place into courses below college level. Now that you know how to prepare, the choice is yours. In the next few screens, we will show you a few sample questions reflective of the Compass Math Assessment. Be sure to read the instructions provided. After reading each question, carefully answer all answer choices. Once you're ready to answer, click on the corresponding button A through D to select the response. You will then receive instant feedback on the response choice. To hide the response, click on the answer choice button once again. To go to the next question, click on the next button at the bottom of the screen. In this last section, we will briefly discuss some circumstances when assessment may not be required. These include when you have completed a relevant College Board Advanced Placement Test, have completed a relevant college course, or have completed the same Math and English placement test as those we used at SMC at another college. We will lastly point out how you may request a placement waiver if any of these circumstances apply to you. Otherwise, you may skip this section. If you have taken any of the College Board Advanced Placement exams noted on this figure and completed the test with a score of 3, 4, or 5, you may be exempted from assessment. If you completed the English Composition or Literature AP exam, this will exempt you from the English Placement Test. If you completed the Calculus AB or the Calculus BC AP test, this will exempt you from the Math Placement Test. Of course, you will need to provide us with a copy of your AP report. Exemptions for assessment based on the AP score may be requested through the Assessment Center or a counselor. When you present your request and we have verified its authenticity, you will be issued a placement waiver. This waiver will place you into an appropriate college level class. Please refer to the Placement Waivers website for specific details. If you have completed an English, ESL, or math class at another college or university, you may be exempted from assessment and be given a placement waiver to continue with your course sequence at SMC. We will do this provided you completed the class with a grade of C or better. Additionally, your request for a waiver will only be considered if SMC teaches a similar class. We will require proof of completion in the form of a college transcript. Please note that high school courses will not be considered. Again, please refer to the Placement Waivers website for specific details. If you took the Accuplacer English or ESL test as described in Section 3 of this module, or the Compass Math test at another college within the last calendar year, you may be able to use your test score to exempt you from assessment and be given a placement waiver at SMC. We will only accept official test scores coming directly from the institution. Given that test scores are calibrated to our own curriculum, we will use your test scores to determine your eligibility, not the actual course placement at the other institution. This includes tests like the SAT or the ACT. Again, please refer to the Placement Waivers website for specific details. If any of the situations just discussed applies to you and you qualify for an exemption, you must request a placement waiver through the Placement Waivers website at www.smc.edu/waivers. Here you will find instructions on how to make this request. We strongly urge you to take care of this matter as soon as possible. Congratulations, you made it this far. You are one step ahead of many students. You now know how the assessment process works at SMC. You are now familiar with testing policies and the content and type of questions you will be asked on each test. You have reviewed sample questions, and we have pointed out to you some important resources that will help you prepare for the tests. Throughout this module, we have reinforced to you the importance of preparing for your placement test. We are hopeful that the information discussed will help you make effective decisions where English and math assessment are concerned. Now, the question remains, will you take on our challenge to Prep2Test? The choice is entirely yours.